we're addressing the needs of what, if we do have a distributed workforce and we do provide flexibility, how can we create flexibility in a more meaningful way? And that's kind of the conversations that we're starting to have with many of our clients as they think about addressing the nuances of their workforce, because there's different personas of your employees, and your employees actually know what they need better than them, the organization making those choices for them.
Location flexibility is more than office versus home office, especially because of COVID and the lockdowns, seems to be the reality that most people think exists. It's like either the office or the home office. And I see a lot of people wanting to move to like a kind of hybrid version. Now they have tasted the experience of working from home, but still also miss like the facilities that an office gives them, or even like the personal interaction or the change of scenery. So I've been working location independent for 5 years, and I've been making the most of it. So I've been traveling, I've been working from the craziest places, allowing me to travel, but it's not about the traveling, it's more about I get to work where I feel at that moment I want to work. That gives me the best place for my productivity. Location flexibility gives a lot of new energy, and I've been seeing and meeting so many people that are doing that. But if you go to co-working space, what I see around me, I've not been visiting a lot of co-working spaces, they're either freelancers, contractors, or they're startups. I see very, very limited number of employees.
We believe in flexibility, but we also had people who were going into the office pre-COVID, and then we had a team that was remote, and that remote team never felt connected as they do now, because we're all remote, right? And so so it's kind of interesting because the dynamic of our organization, we're fairly small, has changed because we're all working for remote. And so the appreciation of what that means as an organization has become so widespread that everyone in an organization understands that separation between work has become more challenging. We have one large organization that has over 135,000 employees, and we're working with them to kind of move down a different model of, satellite offices, HQ satellite offices, and then on-demand access for their employees as well. And one of the things which was really interesting was they were saying that they have a group of people who work ridiculous hours, and they want to now give them access and get them out of the to create that separation between work and home. Is let's give them access to a dedicated space close to their home, so that they have that in between time that everyone now, especially in COVID world, is like it gets blurred. And so we're now measuring things based on energy, exactly. the energy that to accomplish this task, right? It could regardless of time. And it's actually helped us because you have to be protective of your energy in today's world, because you're dealing with so much uncertainty, and all that uncertainty creates all this emotional kind of baggage that we all are carrying.
A bit about energy versus time. So the time management is really, we are thinking about physical labor, which was basically selling time in exchange for money. We are now, most of us, like many of us, are knowledge workers right now, and we are now exchanging our knowledge. So no longer our time, but we are changing our innovative capacities, our just knowledge, experience, and so that is a huge shift. But we haven't adapted our paradigm about work to that shift, and this is really the core thing of the future.
We work with organizations in a few different ways. One is, especially now with COVID, a lot of organizations are sitting on real estate that's not being optimized, right? And so we're helping them kind of reimagine what the space could look like. and how to then support a distributed workforce, right? So we create a hub and spoke model where we find clusters of employees, and then we say, okay, instead of having a 20, say you have 20 people in one cluster, instead of having a 20 person office, take a 10-person office in one of our partner spaces. We have over 670 partners around the globe that we work with. We have 5,000 locations, and we create a dedicated location where your people can come in and out to do collaborative work. So the space is kind of designed for collaboration. You have 135,000 employees and you're global. To create a flexible program is very complex because the organization has to go out and build up a relationship with that co-working space. They have to sign a lease, and we take all that burden away and we make it really simple. So they work with Upflex. We have the contracts with all the different providers and operators out there, and the organization then just has to implement the strategy internally, and we work with them to do that. And what we find is companies that actually have a change management approach to implementing flexibility within their organization are far more successful. We've had other companies, we work with one, a fairly large recruitment agency, surprisingly, and they basically offered Upflex to their employees and had their employees sign up, but there wasn't an organizational approach to how they were thinking about it, right? They were like, okay, here's a perk, sign up for it, but you really need to understand the demographics and distribution of your employees and figure out opportunities for them to come together and work.
And the change management approach, we have been talking about this before. It's super crucial to have to set this up in your teams, to have a manager that is supportive and that actually sits down with you and say, why are you in the office 5 times a week? Is this really where you do your best work every day? And that should be the role of a manager and also a peer, a team, and deliberately cultivating an organizational culture like that will allow companies to leverage the benefits, because we shouldn't forget how far away we come from this control, and people are lazy in their and trying to avoid the work paradigm that we unfortunately still all being programmed to. So I think having that change management approach is
in our own organization, and as we speak to other organizations, is this concept of asynchronous brainstorming, right? Previously, back in the day, prior to COVID, people would show up at a meeting unprepared, right? And they would show up, and the first 30 minutes was like, hey, how's it going? Just kind of catching up with people, and then the loudest voices always got the most time. And so you had these introverts that would often sit back and not contribute to the overall discussion. And because companies today have to be innovative, they need every voice to be counted. And so when you do have this sort of virtual premise and tool sets like Mural and Klaxoon, you're able to bring in people who haven't contributed to the thinking process in these collaborative meetings. It's becoming more effective, but managers have to learn how to use these tools. So there's been I think a huge learning curve in how to do that more effectively. Other organizations, larger organizations, they'll have specialists around the world. And prior to COVID, client meetings were face to face, and you couldn't have that specialist join in. And now with virtual meetings, and you're able to bring in, your colleagues from Japan who specialize in this one thing, contribute to the conversations with the client, and that colleague who probably hasn't had that face-to-face experience before with clients because of the time difference is now able to learn and take back information.
Inviting your employees to design their ideal day. Like, what would be, if you could design your ideal day, like what time do you get up? What would you do first? What would your morning routine? How much time would you spend with your family, children, exercise? All in this area, like, so you can make like a little wheel that people can design and create their own day. So if you do that exercise, people already start to think differently and looking at their current habits and the routines, because it is one of the most difficult things is changing your own habits and routines. And this is what we actually ask our employees to do when we want to leverage this location flexibility.
And the fact that a salary is paying for someone to be there for 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week, and at a certain level, and that salary is set based on someone's expertise. And in actual fact, someone's expertise might mean that they could do the same job as someone else, but do it quicker. And we're not in the practice of having a conversation that says, actually, as you go up through the ranks, we don't necessarily need someone who's more senior, but we now recognize that you could do the job in less time. So do you want to work 4 days a week and we'll keep your salary the same? I would love to see a culture where those kind of conversations can take place. Or, you know, we recognize you need to work incredibly flexibly. So this is the outcome that we're aiming for. You tell us how much time you need to be able to do that. We'll pay you for the outcome. And I don't see those conversations. And I think those kind of conversations will help to change that mindset, and help people to really think about what do they want. And even if you're not going to fully embrace the gig economy, where lots of large organizations want the safety and the predictability of knowing they've got people who work for them, actually what they can do is they can create that sort of hybrid gig feel, by ensuring that people can make a lot more choices, not just about where they work and when they work, but also how they're remunerated based on the expertise that they offer and the way in which they offer up their expertise. And I'm not really hearing that many organizations that are having that conversation, unless they're forced to by people who are going, I don't want to work full time anymore. I now want to work in a different way. I now want to be a freelancer. That they're the people forcing the conversation. I feel like organizations could get ahead of that curve a little bit.
Yeah. 5 years ago, I noticed so many people, like, this was the whole rise of the digital nomad. Basically, people saying, okay, I want my flexibility, so I'm quitting my day job and I'm becoming a freelancer, even if I have to do like basic marketing, content management or something, you know. And that is actually people giving up security because they want the flexibility. And offering that internally as an employer can prevent this talent drain, because that's what it is. You're losing people because like, I want to travel for a year, and so I quit my job. So because my boss didn't allow me to work remotely. I'm like, that's such a waste of expertise that you've been investing in as a company. And I'm absolutely right. I wanted to say, like, I like the term, you said gig economy, and I also I came across the term talent economy. This I actually like a little bit better, because the gigs is a little bit like, okay, you do some logo design and the people press the price down. And I think talent economy is more suitable to, the teams that you can create and get specialists from over the here. If there was a big company that combines, okay, design your ideal work day or work week. Tell us how much time you need and where you put it in your day or in your work to get to this specific result. And then we just give you the money. I think it would be great. It's basically what you do if you hire a contractor or a freelancer anyway. So companies, it's not new for companies. It's not something, but it's just looking differently at an employee versus a more external resource.
The expectations of those results need to be very clear, but how people organize their time around delivering that result should be up to the individual. And just because you could work faster than someone else doesn't mean that your remuneration should be impacted because you're doing it in 4 hours versus 5 hours or 6 hours or 7 hours, right? The thing is, it's not about, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, it's no longer about time, it's about quality, it's the energy, it's like I can, I often have this debate where, I'm told, can you get this done by the end of the day? And you're like, okay, I can get this done by the end of the day, but the quality of what you're asking me to do won't be what you want, or if you give me an extra few hours, I'll get you the quality that you want. Company is a technology company today, every single one. It doesn't matter what you do. You could be a real, you could be a retail person. Now it's all technology driven, right? The digitization of digital transformation that's happened over the past year was expected to happen over the next 4 or 5 years. And so every single person works for a digital company now.
This is the menu.
Company. Oh, that's right.
This is my menu, and just yeah. So I just call them because, but this is what I see a lot, and this is, I always said like, oh, the job of a waiter in a restaurant hasn't really changed the future of like in centuries, like in 4,000 years, and now it's actually changing. Organization by nature is about people collaborating. Otherwise, they're organized to work towards the same goals. That is the definition, one of the definitions of an organization. So it's where you need to focus on how can we increase that collaboration, and how can we get that result that we want as quick as we want, and as good as we want, with the highest quality that we want. I think reducing office costs and going to the real estate, like the financial approach, is a good starting point. You do need the HR change component, the culture, people have people up for success by looking even at their own habits. All the tools that you need, they're absolutely also necessary. I want to also give like a little example about when we had the new way of working in the Netherlands. So we had this flexible working from home and getting better results for many years. And somebody from a really large national company said to me, well, we have the new way of working, so it means I have to work from home every Thursday. And we all in our team have one day that we need to work from home. And I'm like, so the CFO wanted to cut 20% of the office costs. That's what you're basically saying. The new way of working is about managing our results and making people happy. But this was just like, this is not the way to do it. And this is the risk if you start to take the cost-driven approach, that people are not looking at what the employees actually need, but they're actually forcing them to work from home certain days. I do think also this strategy, this possibility to open up office spaces, like co-working spaces around the world for your employees, is a great solution, because the focus of a lot of companies now is either office, work from home. There is no in between. And I think from health and safety perspective, giving people a good working space with good chairs, because I know there's a liability for many companies if people would get complaints physically because of the work situation. If you can put it into a dedicated office space, even if it's not your own premises, you take away some of that risk.
Technology companies that are under 500 who don't have or are under that number, they may not have a dedicated real estate team. Then it becomes part of the chief people officer, right? And they now have a budget. I don't think they've a budget where they can make these decisions. So we've started only recently started having a little bit more conversations with people who can make that choice and that budget. But again, I don't think the way that they've approached it is like, okay, I'm just going to let the employees make that choice, and I'm going to send 2 or 3 emails out to them and then get them to sign up for it. And if they sign up, it's great. Then, it gets transferred to me and we onboard the employees. But there is no real initiative behind getting their employees to take this up. So it's almost like an afterthought. It's
Right.
like, we'll see if they sign up, as opposed to and employees aren't speaking up because they don't want to. I think there's also this risk if I say something like I'm not I love this new situation, but in these, when my daughter or my child is around, I need like 3 hours. I need to escape. Like, they're not that sort of nuances associated with the offering isn't kind of communicated, I think.
Thinking about the fact that this is an inclusion issue. This is an inclusion and diversity issue. Flexibility in how and when you work, it can have huge implications on inclusion and feelings of inclusion. You gave the example of people feeling more included because you had a remote team, you had an in-office team, and actually that's an equalizer. But there's lots of other examples of, you know, people being able to choose a co-working space that's maybe easy, closer to where they have caring responsibilities or closer to schools. People being to choose decisions that will allow them to make more life choices and be more kind of family centric or, you know, flexibility centric. So I think it's got so many opportunities and it fits within so many remits. The vibe I'm getting from you and from others is that people tend to reflect it as being sat within one person's responsibility, and they tend to drive it, and then other people come along for the ride rather than that broader holistic viewpoint.
I think flexibility, offering your employees flexibility is amazing, but we need to figure out how to measure it successfully, right? I think saying our company offers flexibility is not good enough. As Trevor said, flexibility means so many different things, and I don't think we need to figure out how to measure it and measure it against what people really need and what that definition means to people, because it means so many different things. And I don't think we've articulated that well. And so as we, as you know, HR professionals start digging deeper and thinking about this new way of work, we need to start measuring those things a lot better somehow.
Yeah, and we have a chance to make an impact and leave a legacy and create a better world if we step up and actually take the responsibility.